Hello people, welcome to Gurukula. I am Jai. So today this video is going to be very interesting because in our day-to-day life internet has become a very important part for every one of us. So even a one day of internet shutdown will make every one of us to go mad. So what is that internet? How are we getting connected to the internet? And is that internet is a connection of systems, or what is it exactly? So this is going to be the today's topic. And then today's special of this particular topic is we are going to visualize how exactly the entire world is connected in the name of internet. So today's video will definitely give you a clear understanding of what exactly the internets are. So without any ado, we will get into the topic now. So this topic I have moduled it for 5 different sections. So first section we will be discussing what exactly, but why it is all started. So what is the basic purpose of inventing an internet? So that is going to be the first topic, and then later on following to that we will be discussing how it all started. So the internet what we see nowadays should have been started at a very small point. So where it all started and how it started, and then we will see the timeline of the internet in the second section. And in the third section we will see what is the formal representation of the internet in most of the textbooks will have. And marching forward, the fourth section will reveal how exactly the entire world is connected in the name of internet. So what is actually connecting each and every countries in this world? So that is what will be the fourth section, and also we will be visualizing how internet is being connected. How do we get internet from the entire world in the fourth topic. And the final topic will let you know what are all the various access mechanisms which is enabling us to get connected to the internet. So let us get into the topic one by one. So as like said in the first topic, this section we will be covering why it all started. So internet is started for two primary purposes. So let us assume that there are three people. So the first people is a teacher, the second one he is a graphic designer, and the third one he is a coder. So now what happens is, if at all these three people has to take a printout of their own works, there should be a printer which has to be allocated for each and every person. So what happens if I assign a printer in this particular way? If I assign a printer in this particular way, well, of course a teacher can make a printout of whatever he have wrote, the presentation, lecture notes, etc. A graphic designer can make a printout of its designs, and a coder can get a printout of the code whatever he have written. So what is happening over here? The expensive resources such as printers is actually getting wasted. So I can achieve this particular task just by using one printer, sharing among all these uses. So in order to exclude, or in order to share very expensive resources, we thought about a concept called the internet. So in the very first point of internet growth, the internet was primarily coined out to solve issues like to share and very expensive resources. So this is a very first approach why internet was coined. And the second approach for internet is, say for an example, if I have to develop, if this particular teacher wants to develop a website, then he should be accessing this particular coder or a web developer who will actually develop a website for this particular teacher. So in order to develop a website, then this particular coder should have the access of all the contents that is developed by this particular teacher. And then in order to get a very designful website, then the coder should get the help of the graphic designer as well, and in turn the graphic designer will need the data from the teachers as well. So somehow in order to create a beautiful website, all these three people's information has to be communicated, or it has to be shared among themselves. So this is the second reason for which internet have been coined through. So that is the second purpose of internet, where exchange of information can happen. So this is the basic 2 points why actually the internet have been started. So actually it started for sharing the information between two computers, and also to share any expensive resources. So these 2 points had paved a way for the growth of internet. So the second topic that we will jump now is how it all started. So I could tell you the growth of internet as 8 different stages. So it all started in the year 1969. So by the year 1969 it was not internet but it was called as an ARPANET. So as you could see, the US, the ARPANET is nothing but the precursor to the modern internet what we see today. But actually the ARPANET was intended for academic research project, that is actually funded by Advanced Research Project Agency. And initially the network was only connected to the University of Alta, and then this University of Alta is being connected with the 3 research centers in California. So earlier stage only these 4 points have been connected to the internet. So one of the first ARPANET application was Telnet. So what is Telnet? Telnet will allow you to remotely log in to the systems that is present over here, and then you could able to access the information on that particular system. So enabling a person to remotely log into another supercomputer and to access the information is what we call it as Telnet. So that was the very first invention in 1969. So then later on during the year 1970 the ARPANET starts to expand. So as you could see in the figure, there are more number of countries or more number of states that is being connected to the internet. I mean ARPANET. So by the end of 1970, ARPANET has grown to 13 nodes including the East Coast schools like Harvard and then MIT. So each ARPANET site has a router known as Interface Message Processor. These costs around $82,200, which is actually $500,000 in today's money. And then later on during the year 1973 ARPANET actually goes international, which means in 1973 ARPANET become international with a satellite link connecting Norway and London to the other nodes in the United States. So Hawaii also joined the network by satellite, and at this particular point the network had around 40 nodes connected to the ARPANET. The new ARPANET applications has begun to emerge, and then by the year 1971 email was invented by an BBN engineer named Ray Tomlinson. So who actually invented the use of ampersand symbol that we still use in our email addresses today. And then later on during the year 1982 the ARPANET has actually become as a community. So the network only had about 100 nodes, but there was enough to support a vibrant online community. So long before Facebook and then Twitter, ARPANET allowed computer scientists to stay in touch. So a new bulletin board system called as Usenet was invented in 1980 and caught on quickly. It started spreading among the people in a very faster rate. So Usenet was organized by a topic, that is allowing users to swap programming tips, recipes, jokes, opinions, and their opinions about science fictions and much more. Generally what we do in our Facebook and Instagram nowadays. And then later on during the year 1984 ARPANET has become the internet actually. So as you could notice, the internet is the word which is evolved from ARPANET. So in simple terms we could actually say that ARPANET is internet when it's become higher in sizes. So originally the entire ARPANET was managed by the military in earlier days, and then the network operators realized that a centralized network would eventually become unmanageable if it is continued to grow. So they decided the network should be reorganized as a decentralized one, and that is where we call it as network of networks. And we could also remember that internet is nothing but interconnection of networks. So this name is also being coined from ARPANET. So the different networks would be controlled by different organizations, but all of the networks be able to communicate using shared standards, forming a shared internet. So that was a standard that which was formed in 1984. And later on during the year 1986 the first internet backbone was created. So the agency created a TCP/IP based network called NFSnet to link those supercomputing centers together and allow researchers across the countries to use them. So as you could see in the figure, the dark blue lines represents the backbone which is connecting the supercomputers located over here. If at all any people those who are located over here wants to get connected, or they need to get the access to the supercomputers, they need to connect themselves to this particular backbone area. So that is how the internet being spread. So the primary goal was to allow the supercomputer science researchers to log into the supercomputers and to perform the academic research. But NFS decided not to limit the NFS to the purpose, allowing the network to be used for a wide variety of academic purposes, and as a result the NFSnet became the internet's backbone. So the high speed long distance network that allowed different parts of the internet to communicate. And later on, in 1986, the schools did not have a direct connection to NFS, worked together to build regional networks that linked themselves to each other and to the nearest NFS node. So this point actually means that, say for an example, the school located over here, school located over here, school located over here, they actually formed a regional connection like this, and then they created a connection to a backbone in order to access the supercomputers for academic research purposes. So later on, back on 1993, the internet became a global network. So the concept of internet have been accepted by most of the countries, and in 1993 the internet was still dominated by the United States, but it was becoming a truly global network. So this is a map of information flow on Usenet and bulletin board application that allowed users to swap recipes, jokes, programming as discussed in the previous sections. And finally, by the year 1994, the entire internet backbone have been privatized, have been handed over to the private companies such as AT&T, so Level 3, Unet, and then Sprint. So these were all the 4 companies which actually took care of laying the backbone network over the internet. And more interestingly, the officials were very careful to ensure that no single company controlled too much of backbone, helping to create a competitive market for the internet connectivity, and that is still existing in today's date as well. So all the companies competed with each other to provide a long distance connectivity to the smaller network. So this improvisation is what the advancement that we are witnessing in today's date. So this is what a journey of ARPANET, which we can actually see from 1958. So starting from 1958 and from 2011 and still on counting. And as you could see, there are important inventions which you could see in 1974. The word internet as an abbreviation of internetworking is used for the first time, and in 1971 an electronic mail was invented, and during the year 1982 the TCP IP protocol was successfully implemented over here. And then in 1994 the first online shops and virtual banks and advertising banners appeared on the internet. And now in today's date, nobody wants an introduction to internet. So now getting back to the formal representation of internet, in any textbook that we could see that this is what will be a formal representation of internet. So in formal representation of internet, you could see 4 layers of networks. So this first layers is what we call it as backbones, and the second layers is what we call it as peering point, and third layer is what we call it as provider network, and the fourth layer is what we call it as the customer network. So what do you mean by a backbone network? The first layer, or we could call it as an core part of the computer network that actually interconnects various pieces of network, providing a path for exchange of information between different LANs and then the subnetworks. So who is actually organizing the backbones? There are several companies which actually provides the backbone connection. So few of the companies to name: Sprint is one among the company, AT&T is one of this company, and Verizon and NTT are the 4 major companies which actually providing the backbone network. And then the second layer of the people is what we call it as the peering point. So peering point, they are nothing but they are the voluntary interconnection of administratively separate internetworks for a purpose of exchanging traffic between the users of each network. So let us assume that this particular backbone is being given by Sprint, and this particular backbone is given by NTT, and eventually there might be a group of people who was connected to this NTT network, and there will be a group of people who will be connected to this Sprint network. So the people, those who are located in this particular group N1 and the people located in this particular group N2 will not have any connection if the peering points are not there. So the peering points are the intermediate network which actually establishes connection between one backbone network to the other backbone network. So peering point are the people who actually interconnect several backbone networks. So that is what we call it as the second layer of net, that is what we call it as peering points. So coming to the third layer, the third one is what we call it as internet service providers, or ISPs in short. So they are an organization that provides services for accessing, using, or participating in the internet. So internet service providers can be organized in various forms, such as it may be in commercial ISPs, it can be in community owned, it can be non-profit, or otherwise it can be privately owned. So internet services typically provide ISPs that can include internet access, which will allow you to access the internet. It can able to send any traffic over the internet, and they can allow you to create a domain name registrations. They can allow you to host a website, etc. So these are all the various services which is offered by internet service providers. And the very well known internet service providers here in India, Tamil Nadu are Jio, Airtel, and then Vodafone. So all these things are the very well known ISPs that is in Tamil Nadu is concerned. So next, coming to the fourth network is that is nothing but the customer network. The customer networks are nothing but the end users, as like you and me. So these are all the four layers of internet which we could actually see that the official representation of internet, how the internet works. But this is a schematic visualization of internet. But actually how the entire world is being connected. So how this backbone is actually connecting the entire world. So that should be visualized over here. So when we jump into the next topic, we could actually see how the actual internet will look like. So in most of the cases, we will be thought of this particular representation. So an internet is connected over here. So we could say that a system is connected to a Google server over an internet. So in most of the times, in most of the textbooks, we might have come across this particular representation, which will make us to realize that internet is something that is like a cloud architecture. So that gives us a wrong perception of what actually the internet is. But actually the internet is connected in this particular way. As you could see, there are the entire countries, each and every country in this world is being connected by a colorful line, and these lines is what we call it as backbones, whatever we have seen in the previous slide. So these lines are what we call it as backbones. So in order to have a better visibility, we will try to visualize this particular internet by using some online simulation websites. So here we will try to visualize the internet connection that is running around the world. So as you could see over here, the colorful lines, those are all represents the backbone network, which is actually connecting the entire world. So these are all the lines which is actually connecting the entire world, and all these lines is what we call it as the fiber optic cable, which is running under the ocean. So when we zoom into India, as you could see how India is being connected to the internet. So India is connected to the entire internet only at 5 points over here. So this is the very first point. This is the first point, second, third, fourth, and then fifth. The first point is Mumbai. So that is where actually, so when you click on a particular dot, that will tell you what exactly that points are. And these points are what we call it as landing points, where exactly the internet backbone points will land over there. And we can tap internet from each and every landing points inside the country. So the first landing point is at Mumbai. The second landing point is at Cochin. The third landing point is at Trivandrum, and the fourth landing point is at Tuticorin, and the fifth landing point is at Chennai. So these are all the 5 landing points where the entire backbone networks are connecting India to the entire world. And you could see there India is connected to several other countries as well from this particular backbone network. So these colorful lines is what we call it as a backbone network, which we have seen a core network as represented in the formal representation. So how do we tap internet inside the country now? So as of now, as from the figure, it is very clear that we are getting connected to the rest of the world through this landing point, and from this landing point we can tap the internet, and then there are several data centers located in around India which will actually take internet and it will be delivered to this particular to the entire country. So in order to visualize the data centers, I will take the help of this particular website, so HE3D, where I can actually show you the submarine cables. So all these green color lines that is being running across is what we call it as the backbone networks, and as you could see over here, India is again getting connected from these 5 points over here. So these 5 points are the landing points as we have seen, as we visualized in the previous slide. So now what I will do is I will just pop out what are all the various data centers located. As you could see, these are all the various data centers. The blue color dots which you could see is what the data centers which actually helps us to tap the internet from each and every landing point, and then it will be delivered to the people, or it will be delivered to the nearby states over here. So that is what the purpose of the landing stations are. And similarly, we can see the details of the landing station just by clicking on that particular dot. So this particular data center is 7star Private Limited, that is being run by 7star Private Limited, which is located in India. So similarly, there are several data centers in around Hyderabad, Bangalore, etc. So these data centers is what we can closely relate to the peering networks. So these are all the data centers which acts like a peering network who will connect the several backbone networks. So this particular data center is actually connecting the internet of these many backbones. So that is how the internet is being given to this entire world is over here. So each and every country will have their own data centers located. So as you could see, these are all the various data centers located in around the world. So I will leave the description for these websites in the description section, so where you can visualize the data centers around the world, and by clicking on each and every dot you will be given an in-depth representation and in-depth details of that particular website, and the link is also available over here. So that's all about the 4 topics that we have seen in visualizing the internet, and finally we will also see what are all the various accessing mechanisms that allows us to connect to the internet. So the first one is we can connect ourselves to the internet by using the telephone networks, which in olden days we used telephone networks, we call it as dial-up connections, where we will be using telephone networks to connect to the internet. And later on we are using the cable networks, where a cable will be directly running from a nearby internet service provider to our home, and then you can connect yourself to the internet in wireless mode as well, and then you can have a direct connection to the internet. And generally the direct connection to the internet will be happening only from the big companies such as ISRO, DRDO, these kinds of companies, and these type of organizations will have direct connection to the internet. Rest of the community, where the commercial internet will be given only by the internet service providers. So internet service providers are actually providing the architectural support for the consumers to get connected to the internet. So these are all the various ways through which we get connected to the internet. So that's all about all the 5 topics, and I hope that you will be getting an in-depth representation, and you might have visualized how the entire world is getting connected in the name of internet. So these are all the various references that I have used, and also you check the description section for the online references whatever I have used in this particular video. So as of now, I'm going to see you on the next particular video. Until then, happy learning.